What is this? This game just caused the biggest meltdown in indie game industry history? What? No way. What game could it possibly be? I bet you it's Concord.
You know, guys, it's not often that we
Concord's
get
the
an
best.
industry game changer, but that's exactly what we got with the Hollow Knight Silksong video game. The reason why we are talking about Hollow Knight Silksong today is because they just recently announced that they are going to be releasing an expansion, a massive expansion for
What?
Hollow Knight Silksong, and
But
they're
it just came out.
going to be releasing it for free. This ended up making me
What?
want to spur up.
Dude, people were telling them to... So when the game came out, people were saying that it was too cheap and that you should buy 2 copies instead of 1.
The conversation surrounding this game, and with my new format, this allows me to ask the question, based on the history that we saw with Hollow Knight and with Hollow Knight Silksong, the amount of attacks that this game got when it was released by the own industry that it was releasing in was astronomical. And in today's video, I want to go over the entire history of Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight Silksong, and the conversation that was surrounding the release of the sequel from game developers, journalists, and everybody in the gaming industry that decided to attack Hollow Knight Silksong for doing something that was player focused. We all know they don't like gamers. It's very obvious that most of them don't like.
All gamers are incels. All gamers are virgins. They don't have wives or kids. Every single one of them is a loser with no job. They probably watch VTubers and love anime. Yeah. What? Didn't you know that? The game journalist said so. So it must be true. Yeah, you're evil. And also you're just like the worst human being on the planet. Yeah, including me. Yeah.
Gamers, but Hollow Knight Silksong came out with a price point that said we are going to release this game at this price because we want as many people to play our game as possible. And guess what? It worked. So hit that like button, subscribe button, all that good YouTube algorithm nonsense, and comment down below. Otherwise, your view's not going to count. And to be honest with you, that sucks. Today's video, I want to go over the history of Hollow Knight. We're going to break down Hollow Knight the original, Hollow Knight the Silksong, and then we're going to talk about the reaction that people had towards Hollow Knight and how it utterly destroyed the entire gaming industry upon release. Not even just the indie scene, but it also destroyed the AAA scene. There was video games that were scared to release alongside Hollow Knight Silksong because...
I mean, to be fair, Baldur's Gate 3 had the same effect. Like, this isn't like exclusively to Silksong. I just remember seeing some posts on Twitter here and there that made like quips or jokes, or at least I would hope they were quips and jokes, and said like, yeah, we're probably gonna delay it for like a month maybe, because like I think that we're gonna be overlooked, which is a good point. Like it's absolutely probably possible.
It was a massive wave throughout the entire industry. And then at the end, we're going to talk about some recent announcements that Hollow Knight Silksong has had regarding an expansion, a massive expansion called Sea of Sorrow that is going to be released in 2026. And apparently it is also going to be released for free. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the company that was already charging you too little for their product.
Meanwhile, Blizzard, you pay $15 for a sub. You pay for the new expansion, and every expansion is released every like 2 years. I think they were saying that they were gonna make them like every year and a half for the new saga or whatever. Oh, and then there's mounts, there's transmogs, there's character transfers or server transfers where they shut down servers because nobody's playing on them. Oh, jeez. Oh, how will I ever compete with the little Silksong? Yeah, the WoW token. Ooh.
according to the people that attacked the game, is now releasing a massive expansion for essentially the least that you could possibly charge, which is free. So first, let me give you a little bit of history when it comes to Hollow Knight. So Hollow Knight, the original game, was a video game they released initially. Well, first it had a prototype, okay? It was initially a prototype that landed on Kickstarter, and then Team Cherry's roots for Hollow Knight trace all the way back to the Game Jam era, which is often cited around their early Hungry Knight concept. And then the Kickstarter campaign, which is late in 2014, funded the initial scope for the game. Then in 2017, Hollow Knight launched on Windows on February 24th of 2017 with a Mac and Linux version shortly after that. The initial
there was a lot of indie games like it, like freaking, what is it called? Undertale. There was another one that came out around about the same time. That was crazy. There was actually a lot of Kickstarters of indie games that were really, really good, and they became like cult classics.
Reception for Hollow Knight landed pretty strong, at least with the urinalists anyway, and also with players who ended up trying out the game. Everybody loved the fact that the game had hand-drawn art and atmosphere, really tight combat. It was difficult, and honestly, for a Metroidvania, it still had exceptional exploration and really deep lore. Hollow Knight is a video game that kind of tells you its story through its world, and I really enjoy that. It's the reason why I enjoy the
People are so sick of having their hand held, and then the protagonist or whatever, the group of people that you're playing, they all like have exposition, and they say everything that's happening all the fucking time because they think all the people that play video games are fucking stupid. I hate that, man. And or not leaving things up to interpretation. And also, the other thing that I'm really sick of too is like devs saying exactly what the interpretation of certain things are rather than leaving it up to fandom, like, you know, what is it called? Like fandom fanfictioning, which creates new ideas for these games as well.
Dark Souls style video games, because those games do the same exact thing. They give you a little bit of tidbit here and there that's going to get you addicted or at least somewhat interested, and then as you explore the game and you play it and you do the combat and all that stuff, you realize that the story for the world is being told to you as you play the game.
Yeah, Fallout is really known for that, or at least the first two, where you're plopped in and they kind of explain a little bit at the start, like, oh, you're a what's it called, a vault dweller, and you got plopped in, and now you have to go look for the Gek, or the Eden thing, or whatever it's called, and then it's exposition through reading journals, talking to characters, and things like that, where you actually read the text. Yeah, like, Fallout reading is optional, but you do have to interact with a lot of characters that explain to you what's going on in the world. That's mandatory, and that's, like, really nice. Yeah, BioShock. Yeah, there's a lot of stories like that we're told. Not explicitly like someone holding your hand and being like, oh, look at you, you're the greatest thing on the planet. Let's go and like save the girl and the princess and like kill the boss.
Story for the world is being told to you as you explore and you check out the items and you read little tooltips every now and then. You know, it's all very interesting stuff, and I genuinely enjoy it. Now, me personally, I haven't played Silksong yet because I'm still going through the original Hollow Knight. Once I finish that game, then I'm gonna play Silksong, and honestly, I can't wait. I'm enjoying what I'm playing in Hollow Knight. I think Hollow Knight's combat and gameplay is top tier. I do love the overall art style, the dark art style, the very depressing mood. I mean, all of it just really hits very well when playing through Hollow Knight. So obviously the game was very successful, not necessarily in the beginning, but it did grow over time. This is the reason why Hollow Knight Silksong was so successful, is because it had such a massive fan base by the time that it released, and people initially thought that the sequel was not going to come out, because the sequel,
people underestimate word of mouth too,
initially started as a DLC. But let's talk about the original game. So a huge part of Hollow Knight's reputation come from the fact that it offered a lot for the price, which they ended up following up with on the sequel. Team Cherry stacked the value with multiple free content updates and expansions even after the initial game's required price of $14.99 or whatever it was. Then the platform ended up growing from there. Nintendo Switch ended up releasing...
You also have to understand that a lot of gamers don't live in America too. Do you realize that when you price something at like 80 American dollars, you're say you're like in Australia or Canada, where your currency is like slightly more whatever, the conversion rate is slightly higher, and it's like people are like, oh man, $100 for a video game, I don't know if I can justify that. Whereas these indie games price themselves at $15 and you get like hundreds of hours of replayability and like a game for like less than that, for like 5 times less than that, like Canada, yeah. Or even I've heard this from like people that live in Brazil or like South America where their currency is very weak compared to the American dollar, and it's like I have to spend like a quarter of my fucking rent on this? No, go fuck yourself. That's why I had a lot of Brazilian friends that like I would play online with, and I would get to know them, and they're like, yeah, I play this game because it's fucking free. There's a lot of Brazilians on private servers for World of Warcraft too because it's too fucking expensive, man. Yeah, to like play WoW. So yeah, so they play like fucking, they play private servers for video games because it's free.
Their version on June 12th of 2018, and then PS4 and Xbox One ended up getting the game on September 25th of 2018. So in that year, it ended up going multi-platform. The sales growth was astronomical. Reportedly,
yeah.
Hollow Knight is at 15 plus million copies sold as of August of 2025, which is a monster number for an indie game, especially an indie Metroidvania game.
It's
massive numbers. Then comes like Hollow Knight Silksong. In February 2019, Silksong was announced as a full follow-up starring Hornet after expanding beyond the original DLC concept. And keep in mind, like,
I haven't even played the game, but I know the characters and I know the setting. Like, that's how popular this game is. Even people that haven't played it, they know.
Said earlier, the sequel was initially planned to be just a DLC for Hollow Knight starring Hornet. Then after years of just basically nothing, like quiet, delays and everything, the game became a meme in and of itself. Team Cherry's marketing and publishing rep publicly reassured fans in January 2025 that it was real and it was progressing. Then in August of 2025, the release date was officially revealed with a very short runway, only 2 weeks before the launch of the actual game. And then on September 4, 2025, Silksong.
And that's the thing, because they're an indie game and you don't have like businessmen like breathing down your neck, like saying, hey, we need to like excite people, we need to like hype up the stock for our company because your game needs to come out at a certain date. They let it cook and they made the game. You wouldn't have that with a lot of AAA games. A lot of AAA games, in my honest opinion, for example, I can cite one, New World. New World was actually, like, in bases, up until, like, level 30 or so, was an immaculate game. Like, the lore wasn't very built out, but, like, they could have worked on that, but I genuinely think they didn't give it enough time. They didn't, because they needed it to come out then and then. Not then and then, there and then. And it was like obvious that they just kind of fucking patched it together and had to rush it out. It sucks. It was such an immersive, awesome game, and they had like good ideas, but then at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, Amazon pushed it out because they had to like fucking make money.
Shock the entire internet.
These people don't. Like, they're like, yeah, sure, making money is great and nice and all, because obviously they want to feed their kids and their family and the people that worked on it, but, like, at the same time, they want to play the game and see people having fun on their piece of art. It's enjoyable to them. It's the money is secondary.
Actually releasing multi-platform with a headline-grabbing price of only $19.99. So now that we know the history of Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight,
less than the price of a McDonald's meal,
Silksong and Team Cherry, how they started and where they got to, let's talk about the controversy. So, of course, the controversy surrounding Hollow Knight Silksong was massive. And the funny thing is, it wasn't from the typical gamer chuds that the journalists love to blame whenever they want to start some trouble and try to point the finger at someone else for starting it. The Hollow Knight Silksong controversy was started by the same industry that pretends to praise indie games all the time. The reason why Hollow Knight Silksong got attacked was for a multitude of reasons, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The number one reason the game got attacked was because of its price point. Yeah. The journalist claimed
all of the fucking game devs were crying and saying, oh my god, they're gonna expect us to make our game $20. That's not gonna be enough to feed my family. The corporates are gonna be whipping me in my fucking butts because they're gonna make me fucking work more. Oh my god, no, I'm gonna shit and piss my pants now.
That it was
CEO's
insensitive
crying.
to other indie developers to
No, I need my second yacht. $20 isn't enough.
release a video game of this magnitude for $19.99. They said that it was frankly too cheap. They said that the game should have been at least $39.99 minimum. These people are trying to...
I love that argument. There was another argument that was circling around Twitter saying the numbers for Silksong are overinflated because people... it's more accessible, therefore more people are buying it because it's cheaper. Let that sink in for a moment. Yeah.
At the price for someone else's video game, and the reason why they're doing it is because they cannot compete. That is really what it is, and that's what we're going to talk about when it comes to the indie scene. But the journalists specifically were using this opportunity to attack Hollow Knight Silksong, pretend like they're not attacking it. They would praise it.
They don't understand the concept of making something amazing and keeping it at a relative price point. For example, there's a Michelin star like duck like it's like a restaurant that only makes one thing, and they make duck and then they give you like bread with it or whatever. It's like in China or something, right? And the guy had got his Michelin star in the 1980s, and it's $2, and it was $2 at the time to buy a meal, and it's still $2 in 2025. And there's people mauling out over the fact that this guy hasn't raised his price, and he's like, you do realize like a duck costs like 30 cents, and then like obviously have to mark it up so that I can make money, but I don't have a reason to like increase the price when I'm just like making a really great product. And it's like, that's the same thing with a video game of this caliber. It's like, yeah, obviously, like, oh, you know, if it costs like time and effort to develop, like, and they want to make it $20, let them make it $20.
In the same articles, but then at the same time they'll say, this is insensitive. How could you do this? Why would you do such a thing? You want to give gamers more value? What's wrong with you? You know, like the mere idea of giving gamers more value just destroyed them mentally. They could not even come to terms with themselves. So the game released at $19.99, and even Team Cherry specifically stated that the reason why they released the game at that price is because they wanted as many people as humanly possible to play their video game. They wanted...
Yeah, and then people got mad at them for it. No! You have to make it expensive! Do you realize how fucking expensive it is to game nowadays with like the chip shortage that's happening yet again?
Everybody to get the opportunity to try their game, and they wanted to release it at a price there was going to be minimal walls up. Basically, they didn't want anybody to have an excuse as to why they could not at least try this game if they wanted to. And guess what? It worked. If you go over to the original Hollow Knight, you're going to be completely shocked at the fact that when the game initially released in 2017, it released to an all-time concurrent number of 2,094, and then over time, as time went on, people kept buying the game more and more and more as it went on.
And it's consistent too. It's not like it fell off a cliff either. That's what people fail to understand. And it grew. It grew by like double. Yeah, if you look at like over here, let's not take this into account because it obviously jumped. But if you look at this here, it grew over time. This is around about, it at least like doubled from the start when it released. That's crazy. For a game that's been out for like 8 years or something.
More and more as it went on sale. You know, the cheapest price of this game ever was $5.99 with a retail price of $14.99. And then 3 months ago, the game hit an all-time peak after the announcement of Silksong.
Yeah, because people wanted to replay it, so it was fresh in their memory. Wait, I do that too, though. Like, low-key, I have done that before. I'll be like, I'm so fucking hyped. Ah, rah! I'm a Silksong fan. Well, not literally, but like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just freaking out.
95,655 3 months ago. Many years later, right? We're almost talking about 8 years later, and it hit an all-time peak of 95,000. There is 11,000 people playing this game right now versus when it initially released. So this was a very long grind for Hollow Knight, and the success of Hollow Knight is an overtime kind of thing. They built a fan base of very loyal customers at a very affordable price point for the average person to buy. Then you have Hollow Knight Silksong proving that they released it at the right number. Hollow Knight Silksong released at $19.99.
People would have bought it even if it was $30 because it actually has like value to it. $40, like, yeah, maybe you'd be like, oh, it's a little bit expensive. But I think because you have such a loyal fan base that waited for it so long, obviously, if it was garbage, this would be a completely different story. But I'm taking it as is. Even if it was $40 and it was the same quality right now, it would be like people would still buy it, because you want to know what they said? Buy 2 copies and don't pirate it. There were people that were on pirating websites, you know, where they congregate, like on Pirate Bay or whatever. There's like forums and stuff where people discuss pirating as soon as it comes out, like GTA 6. They prepare for it and they're like, oh shit, we gotta like get it ready so that we can crack it, right? They actually discouraged people from fucking pirating it and said, just buy it. Like, if you have the money, just buy it. It's worth it.
And they enjoyed an all-time concurrent player count of 587,150. Astronomical numbers. We are talking about industry-shattering numbers. These are numbers that make AAA developers cry in their fucking sleep.
Dude, Concord could never. They're fucking crying themselves to sleep.
These numbers are insane, and this is why the industry started to attack this game, because they said, what are you doing? Why are you offering so much value with barely any kind of, like, actually no microtransactions outside of an upcoming DLC? Now you offered a full game experience for $20 in the year 2025. What's wrong with you? How could you do that? Why are you not releasing?
It's the greedy corpos. Normal people that make video games don't fucking think like that. Like, yeah, obviously, if you have a free game and you want to like put microtransactions in there, I think like you have to make money somehow. I do think there's like an actual reasoning to it. But if you fucking charge $40 for a game and then you shove it full of microtransactions, you need to get bitch slapped.
In this game for $40 and charging for microtransactions. That's what we do now. What you're doing is old school. Don't do this, because then it's going to make it hard for other indie developers to charge more for their games. Good. I'm glad. You know, here's the thing, man. Hollow Knight Silksong was attacked for being $19.99 because other developers who overthink the value of their video games, both indie and AAA, wanted to charge you more for less. That's really what it is. That's all it boils down to. The people that were out there...
I'm still very, very annoyed that GTA 6 is going to be like... Allegedly, people are still speculating. This isn't confirmed or anything, but people are thinking that it's going to be like $90 to $100. And I'm like, bro, do you realize, like, I don't think, like, I'll be able to play with, like, most of my friends, because it's, like, it's $100! People are already pissing and shitting their pants over Nintendo, rightfully so, by the way. I'm not saying that, like, as a derogatory thing. I think they have every right to be pissed that a fucking game from Nintendo Switch is fucking $80. I think that's ridiculous. But like 100 clams, oh my god. Yeah, they're gonna be selling DLC and in-store items, and there's a deluxe edition. Oh my gosh. Rockstar's high on crack if they think $100 is a good idea. I don't know. Again, this is all speculation. It's not confirmed at all, but it might happen. It might. And again, I'm not talking about inflation. Like, naturally, I do think inflation happens. Like, a game back in, like, 2005 costs less because, you know, inflation happened. But $100 is insane right now.
Complaining that Hollow Knight Silksong was too cheap, were the people they wanted to charge you maximum dollar for the least amount of content. That's what they wanted to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be complaining. you would be saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to do my best to try to compete against this game, and I know I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people out there that have absolute defeatist attitudes. It was actually kind of sad to witness, but there's multiple examples of developers out there, indie developers that had completely defeated attitudes. Do you guys realize that Hollow Knight, again, I want to remind people from the history that we went over.
If you're an indie developer, you should be more encouraged that like an indie developer like this that has like a limited budget, that has, you know, it doesn't have like insane cinematics attached or like gameplay footage. Like Silksong is what it is. It's a Metroidvania, and it still like blew everyone away. You should be encouraged, if anything. Like, if I was an indie developer and like, oh, you know, another AAA game won, or like a AAA game is still the highest grossing thing ever, and like I can't compete, like I would be upset too. But this is more encouraging, if anything. Why are you being so miserable? Yo, Kitty, can you not scratch my carpet? Holy shit, Kitty! He's playing with a string.
Hollow Knight, when it first came out, was the same level of indie game as everybody else. Sure, it had a Kickstarter, and it enjoyed 2,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is higher than most indie games. But at the end of the day, it was still a fraction. It was a fraction of what it is today, right? So people are trying to compare the success of Hollow Knight today and trying to say, well, we can't compete to that. Well, what about Hollow Knight?
Well, then, if you can't compete, then it's a skill issue. I don't want to be that guy, but like, is it not a skill issue if you can't compete? It's like going up and streaming and being like, ah, man, putting effort into stream, not turning on and turning up every day. Geez, I gotta think of things to talk about on stream, or video games to play, or do things that like interest people. Geez. All those top people streaming right now, I just can't compete.
In the beginning, Hollow Knight in the beginning could not compete with whatever the big dog was at the time, and they tried their damnedest over many years to build a fan base so that they could eventually compete. And look at them now. Now they are the top dog for the most part. So why can't you have the same attitude? You know, this defeatist attitude is going through the gaming industry, especially somewhere around the indie scene. It is really sad.
I could even like dumb down the analogy even more. People came out of the slums to play football, like famous people. They came from like literal slums. They were very, very poor, and they just loved football for the love of the game because they had nothing else, and they just have a ball, right? So they made something out of themselves. They became the best. They got recognized in their, like, you know, in their neighborhood, and then maybe later on in school, and then college or university, or like just in general, like through fame, right? You become the best. And then they become the best of the best of the best of the best. And then they become the best of the world. And it's like, you should be encouraged that there's people and there's a gateway for like recognizing massive talent and like beauty in something that came from nothing. These guys came from nothing. They're just making a game.
I feel like people should think more of themselves and should be ready to compete against anybody who's ready to compete with them. See, the industry is filled with people that really think that this is one big kumbaya. They think they're all friends. They actually felt that Team Cherry had a duty to inform everybody else when they were going to release their game, because that way everybody could prepare properly. No, they didn't. Team Cherry is not your friends.
What are you talking about? They just released a game. Oh my god. I didn't know that game devs were parasocial like this.
Cherry is there to compete with you, and I'm so glad that Hollow Knight reminded them that this is not a friendly scene. Like, yes, you could be friendly, but at the end of the day, like, you're still competing. And this is competition. Hollow Knight saw an opportunity to release at a perfect time, and they took it. It doesn't matter. They
don't have to cater to you either. Like, what the fuck, man? Oh, you had to tell us when you were going to release it before you were going to tell everyone. No, I don't. What the fuck?
2 weeks time. Shit, that's more than I would have gave you if I was Hollow Knight. So
I could even analogize and whatever. You know, I could make another analogy for like a VTuber debut models. Like, how would you know that? Like, for example, like, what if I said, "Oh, next week is my new model." It's not, but like, let's imagine this. And then, like, Shy Lily or, like, Cinder announce, like, a fucking model debut the same week. It's like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to know? I don't fucking talk to them. Like, yeah, they're obviously in the fucking industry with me, but like, how would they know? It sucks to suck. Alana picked a bad date. Like, maybe I could delay it. That would be smart, Alana. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, yeah, it's just so fucking nonsensical to me. They think like, oh yeah, it's like everybody talks to each other. It's like, no, you don't, man. Shut up.
Song, to be honest with you. So because of that, the industry attack was massive, and they all tried to claim that it wasn't. And at the end of the day, man, I'll give you a perfect example. We have a headline here from Nintendo Life all the way back in September of 2025, and it says, I can't afford to give it away for free. Silksong's low price is causing developers to reevaluate their own games. Why
So
would you have to give away your game for free because Silksong is too cheap? Are you, oh my god, are you telling me that your video—
I remember when Bethesda's Shadow dropped Elden Ring remake and people thought it was overshadow E33 unless people would play E33. Turns out if you have a good game, it won't matter. Yeah, and Oblivion remake did just fine. Like, they really did. Like, for what it was, Oblivion remake was beloved. It was pretty well made. Like, it had a little bit of a jank, but I mean, that's part of the game. That Oblivion was always really janky, but like, they did a pretty good job.
Game is worth almost nothing, that you were trying to charge so much more for it, that basically when another game comes out like Silksong and drops for $20, that you have to give away your game for free as a result because it's that trash worthy. I mean, come on, guys, this is what I'm talking about. The level of just absolute freaking cope was insane when Hollow Knight came out. Then you had multiple Steam threads that were all trolling, right? Everybody's trying to say, why are people complaining about the cheap price? Celeste is cheap, Terraria is cheap, and they're great games. Why are people saying this one will be bad? A lot of people were trying to say on the Steam forums, and this was all just ridiculous, by the way. They were trying to say that—
Have you ever had a friend that was like, you know, this game came across my desk, it's only $5. It's less than like a Borgie at Burger King. Can we play it? And then you play it once and then you never play it again. Have you ever had that happen, chat? So, how many times have you bought a game because your homie like roped you into it and then you never played it ever again? You played it one time or like 2 times. Too many. Yeah, me too.
Hollow Knight Silksong was going to be bad because it was revealed to be $19.99, and they were saying because of the price point that there's no way that this game can be good. This is the expectation that gamers have been given now, where if you see a cheap game, that is automatically meant in your mind to be bad, and that's not the case at all. There's been multiple video games that I've played this year alone that have been in the $20 and less bracket and have been absolute bangers. Tormented Souls 2 was—
Wait, this is actually really funny. I saw this in chat. Where is it? Oh, the same people complain about the game being too cheap are the same people who resell Arizona tea with 100% markup. Well, I mean, I thought the other one was illegal. I mean, it's not illegal to have your price point for a video game, but yeah, I get it. They mauled out. They're like, oh man, like this thing's so fucking cheap. Costco hot dogs are so fucking cheap. They should be like at least $3 for the markup value, not like $2. Ugh.
Barely above the $20 price point, and that game gave me more content, more time, double the amount of time than even Silent Hill F. And I'm not even kidding, ladies and gentlemen. You can go watch my playthrough of both video games. I beat Silent Hill F in like 8.5 hours. I beat Tormented Souls 2 in about 15-16 hours time. So Tormented Souls, an indie game at $25, a way more better storytelling, everything under the sun, gave me an experience for double the amount of time that I will remember versus a semi-forgettable one with Silent Hill F at full $70 price point. It's it's not even close, man. This is why people need to get out of their minds that low price point equals bad game, because that's not the case at all. The truth is that there are just some developers that understand that.
I absolutely think that to this day, I don't know. If I ask my chat, do you guys calculate like your wage per hour and then see how many hours a game is and then like calculate and try to justify in your head if it's worth like playing or not? Yeah, when I had a wagey 9-to-5 job, I would absolutely do the math in my head. I'm like, oh, fuck. How many hours do I have to work for this to be, like, worth it? Oh, it's $60? Oh, fuck. Okay, so that's, like, what? Like, that's, like, 3 hours, depending on my job. Or, like, it's 4 hours if I'm, like, taking a day off or something. Like, oh, shit, dude. Oh, man. Yeah, with
price
everything.
point
Yeah, but I mean, like, specifically video games. Like, I still kind of do them, bro.
Means more people playing their game, and that's what they genuinely want, right? Team
like,
Cherry, for example, generally wants people to play their game, and they're going to do everything they can to lower the barrier of entry for people.
True, or you think about getting in, you're like, ooh, like you open your wallet and like a fly flies out of your little wallet, and you're like, I gotta wait for the summer sale or the winter sale or something.
To enjoy their video game. You even have this article from Polygon absolutely coping. Look at this. The gaming industry deserved more lead time before Silksong. Team Cherry's surprise release date announcement has upended plans for many indie games. No, they don't. The gaming industry doesn't deserve any lead time. You guys are not friends, man. Oh my god, listen.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this thing proves that Team Cherry did the right thing, okay? And I've always said that, and I will always continue to say that. I feel for you. Listen, I feel for you as indie developers. I feel for you, right? A major game releases out of nowhere that you were not ready for and has completely, forced you to make changes to whatever plans you had for the year. Totally get how that could be frustrating. Totally get how that could be upending. However, I will never say that then at that point, Team Cherry must do this so that you can better prepare. They don't got to do a fucking thing other than release their video game and make sure that the players that love their franchise are happy with their game at the price point, at the content level. That's the only thing they have to do. Everything else, they don't got to do a damn thing. That's only you trying to make yourself feel better by putting the blame on someone else instead of yourself for not being ready for things like this. And I understand there are some things you almost can't be ready for, but at that point you got to put your big boy pants on and figure out what you're gonna do with your game. And sometimes, you know what, you got to say
they just fear them because they knew Silksong was gonna be a blowout and they just get mad.
I'm gonna compete. Fuck it. It is what it is. And maybe I'll just wait a couple of weeks instead of waiting a couple of months. But maybe I'll spend the time convincing people why my game is also worth checking out for $15 or $20 or whatever the case may be. Go compete. Stop being scared to compete. You have an article here from PC Gamer back in November that says Silksong developers felt that they didn't have a lot of control over its release date and sympathized with all the games that were delayed to avoid it. To some extent,
I wouldn't have fucking said that. These guys are too nice. I would have been like, sorry, I can't fucking tell everybody like what my release date is ahead of time. You guys are idiots. You think I'm gonna fucking like message every single one of you to like fucking make sure it's not falling on one of your games? Grow the fuck up, man. Imagine you have to do that every time there's like a model debut. Message every single like small or big VTuber and be like, hey guys, my thing's gonna like fall here. Make sure not to like do it, otherwise I'm gonna be stepping on your toes. Nah, man, it just happens, bro.
Probably is unfortunate. I love it. I love the response. They basically say, man, listen, we had to release our game when we were ready to release it, and we had to release it at an opportune time, and it might be a little bit unfortunate that might coincide with when you plan to release your game, but all it is unfortunate. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to be the end of the world. It is what it is. Now, to be fair, there were some news outlets that were not attacking Hollow Knight Silksong when it released for its price point. I mean, for example, Windows Central ended up writing an article that said Hollow Knight Silksong set to release on September 4th, and the price announced is just $19.99. Team Cherry has finally revealed the full launch times and price tag for its highly anticipated Metroidvania adventure, Hollow Knight Silksong. They basically called it a breath of fresh air that the price point was as low as it was, considering the AAA industry is trying to charge us $70, $80 at the time, right? Remember when Hollow Knight Silksong released that $80 was supposed to be the new price point? They were all trying to convince you that this...
It came out with the Nintendo, like kind of short after the announcement that they were increasing the price. Dude, don't buy the new Nintendo Switch, bro.
This was going to happen. There's nothing you could do about it. And then they ended up backtracking on that so goddamn hard because they got felted over it. And Nintendo ended up releasing Mario Kart for $80. And I don't think they've released another $80 game since. Even Nintendo said, you know what, we might have went a little bit too far with this. So not every single outlet was attacking Hollow Knight Silksong, but the truth is that a lot of them were. The community discourse around this game was insane. And it just goes to show that all it takes is to provide a really good product at a really affordable price, and suddenly everybody who pretends to be on your side is going to take zero delay to attack you immediately because you released something that was too good at too cheap of a price. So what does this mean overall for the industry? Well, I mean, listen, we are at the point now where I feel like Hollow Knight Silksong has...
what is the statistic? Like 43% of like really good sales on Steam were from indie games. I forget what the exact thing is. It was like really positive. We watched a video about it. Like, oh, it was a Moon video. It was about how games have been ruined by corpos. And it was like 43% of like the very well released and well liked video games in the last year were indie games, which is crazy.
Absolutely destroyed the perception of pricing in the AAA gaming like industry and also higher. In the indie gaming industry. There's a lot of video games that people are looking at and they're saying, you know what? Why are you...
maybe it was like all 43% of all video games released were like indie games. At any rate, it was a really good number.
Charging $40 for this when Hollow Knight Silksong is charging $20 for way more, right? Look at King of Meat. I did a video on King of Meat. If you guys missed that, go check out that video. That video game was AstroTurf by Amazon Games. They were the publisher. They spent millions of dollars on a whole bunch of influencers and everything under the sun to try to get this game to a level of 100,000 concurrent players on Steam with all the money in the world invested, and they only got to 320 players on Steam. And they tried to charge $40 or $30 for that game. I forgot how much. I just know it was ridiculous in comparison to a game.
And you know, this is another funny example. You think about it, Concord came out and they said, oh, if you pre-order and pre-purchase Concord, you can play the beta. And it was like maybe like a couple thousand people playing. And then they did a free weekend because they know damn well they didn't have a good enough turnout. And it was even less on the free weekend because people were like, oh, this shit's ass. I don't even want to play it if it's free, let alone $40. That means the people that bought the game didn't even play. It didn't even compensate for the number.
Like Hollow Knight Silksong, which was $19.99. So you're going to see a lot more examples of that. You're going to see a lot more examples of video games that might have charged more. They are now going to charge less because of a game like Silksong, and that is a good thing. That is a good thing for the consumer. That is a good thing for the gamer. The more video games that we could get for better, for cheaper, is never a bad thing. And it honestly takes away the excuse from people to not support the developers that do right by the gamers at the time. So Team Cherry continues to do right by players. So players are doing right by Team Cherry by supporting them financially, and they're making tons of money for this, where now they are releasing a brand new expansion. This is where we're going to close out the video. Next year, they're going to be releasing a surprise new expansion that they just announced. They're promising new areas, new bosses, new tools, and more in this new expansion. Let's check out the trailer for this. Here we go.
There's so much soul in this.
Dude, how could you not be excited at that trailer? I mean, look at the art style. Look at the music. The whole thing hits. And then at the very end, they decided to shock everybody yet again by saying that it is free for all players. It does not get more badass than that. And the great thing is that by the time I finally get to playing Hollow Knight Silksong, the expansion will probably be out. So I'll be able to play it all at once. It is going to be glorious. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about the attack overall and the conversation on Hollow Knight Silksong? What did Hollow Knight do for you? Whether the first one or the second one, let me know your experience with Hollow Knight in the comments down below. I would love to read it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube algorithm nonsense, and comment down below. Otherwise, your view is not going to count, and that really sucks. And I will see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.
That was a good video. Good little yap sesh. Rip Bozo! Skill issue! Yeah! Your game sucks! Yeah, I don't know. Skill issue. Love Silksong. I didn't play it, you didn't play it, but I don't want my family kidnapped by Silksong fans. I can appreciate a game, even by not playing it, dude. I can. Sorry. I know this might come as a crazy take. I have watched people play it. That's why streamers are streamers. Sometimes people enjoy watching a game rather than playing it because it's not their thing, or they just want to watch it without struggling. Or they want to watch a streamer struggle because it's entertaining, whatever it is. That's kind of what, like, people watch Queso. But anyway, that's besides the point.